So, this is actually a true story, and this did happen. I was 16, and it was in the 1990s, probably about 96, 95, 96. And so, this is a true story. It was my first real job, the one where I had to fill out all those confusing forms for taxes and stuff. Getting a part time job was what many young teenagers did in the United States. And my American friend from high school, Mandy, had told me to apply for a job where she worked so that we could work together and make our own money. We could be independent like adults. How cool is that? She had said. It wasn't really the Indian way, where children were encouraged to focus on their studies and schooling, at least in my family. After all, there would be more time later. There would be time to work later when they were actual adults. And it was important they spend this time learning what they could, learning what they would need to know for their future, and create a good, solid foundation for the future. But I had Americanized quite a bit now, so culturally I was pretty American by now. And anyway, my parents had brought us to America and they wanted to be like the Americans. So I did the American thing and got my first real job when I could. I was 15. It was right before I had turned 16. I had been working there for a few months now. I had turned 16. I was sitting in the small break room, hidden away in the corner, in the ugly chair that always seemed to have some kind of sticky residue on it. Well, actually, all the chairs, they all seemed to have some kind of sticky film on it. My arms were touching the ugly brown of the table, which was also sticky. The dull gray of the walls surrounded me on all sides. One of the lights above me was flickering just a little. The light looked gray too, and it added to the overall grayness and depressed lighting and color of the room. It was just so gray and dull and depressing. I was sitting there, waiting there to start working for the day. Man, those Indians are such fucking assholes. I couldn't believe it. Can you believe that lecture from today? A male voice said. I know. I can't believe how horrible those people are, someone else said. My ears perked up, and I stopped moving. Because the break room was hidden away in the corner, I couldn't see who was talking, but I could hear them clearly. Naturally, they couldn't see me either. I wasn't trying to listen, but I couldn't just stop listening. My ears were automatically hearing the sounds. Man, I'm so glad I'm not from there. Can you imagine coming from a country like that, or living in such a pathetic place? The first male voice said. I know, right? Well, I'll talk to you later. I gotta start getting those tables ready. Later, man, the second male voice said as he walked away. I could tell he was walking away and had gone through the door leading to the restaurant because his voice faded away. And then I heard the slight, soft swoosh of the door as it closed behind him. I sat still, unmoving, in the break room. I was feeling weird, like a bit angry maybe? But there was another emotion too. What was it? Embarrassment? Humiliation? Like I had done something wrong by accidentally hearing a conversation I wasn't supposed to? Or by being Indian? And I really wish I hadn't heard that conversation. I hope no one would know I was back there. Who had been talking? I couldn't figure out who the voices belonged to, and I knew pretty much all of my coworkers. Footsteps. Crap. They're heading back here. Please, please don't let it be the guy who was saying all that stuff. I don't want him to know I'm back here and that I heard him. There was nowhere to hide back here either. Oh wait, the women's bathroom was right there. Did I have time to run into it without being seen? That way I wouldn't have to run into that coworker, whoever it had been. But maybe it was someone new? I didn't think any of my coworkers would say such things, and I couldn't place the voice. A young man walked into the hidden break room. Darn. It's too late to run or hide. He saw me quietly sitting at the table, and then stopped immediately as our eyes met, as I looked up at him. I knew him. We had been working together for months. I stared at his pale white skin and his red, short, buzzed hair. Then he walked into the break room like I wasn't even there, faced the vending machine, and started putting change into the vending machine to get a pop. I stared at his back. Was it really him that had been talking and saying such things? But I thought he was a nice person. A bit immature at times, but nice. He was the one that had sprayed me in the face with a water gun, as I'd been driving to work, and he drove past me in the opposite direction, because he thought my car was nicer than his, and so he sprayed me in the face since he thought I was a spoiled brat, because in his perception he thought I had a nicer car than he did. So, definitely immature. Even though he was about 6 years older than me and attending local university. He was in his early 20s. Should I say something? Dare I ask? I was now 16 and going through the worst time of my life. But the anger was already there, coursing and pulsing just a little. Just a hint of it through my body. But maybe I had just misunderstood what they were talking about. After all, I thought he was nice. Maybe it was something that just needed simple clarification. That's probably all it was. I should clarify this because otherwise it was going to bother me for as long as I remembered it. That's right, I should just clarify this. Was that you that was just talking, I asked? Even though I already knew that it was, I had finally put his voice to him. He was still facing the vending machine, and I was still staring at his back. Yeah, so? He said. Well, what were you talking about? Were you saying what I think you were saying, or did I misunderstand? So what? He interrupted me harshly, with anger in his voice. So what if I was saying it? So what? What are you going to do about it? It's true, anyway. What? I tried to keep myself in check and under control. I was at work, and even though I had the lowly, thankless, and disgusting job of being a dishwasher, I still wanted to be professional and courteous. Dishwashers were treated like scum at the country club I worked in, but that didn't mean I should act badly. It was still a job, and I was working, so it was my responsibility to act well and professionally at work. At least that's how I'd been raised, always act appropriately for the situation you're in. So I asked him, what's true? That you guys are nothing but a bunch of assholes. You're nothing but uncivilized savages, he said to me. I inhaled sharply, and my eyes widened. I might have even scoffed. That's it. Now I was pissed. The anger that was within me was overflowing, but I was still trying to control it. I don't think I was able to keep the anger out of my voice, though. What are you talking about? I asked. Seriously, what was wrong with him? Why was he behaving like this? Yeah, right. Now it was his turn to scoff. Like you don't know? We learned about India today in my class. We learned how badly you people treat women and how oppressed they are and how you people just treat each other badly, he said with anger. He had finally turned around and was staring at me. What? I asked again. In addition to the anger I was feeling, I was also now confused. Very, very confused. What in the world is he talking about? I wondered. Oh, don't deny it. You're nothing but a bunch of uncivilized fucking rats that act like nothing but savages. People in India are nothing but brown fucking rats, and all of you just need to be exterminated, he spat at me. The world will be better without people like you ruining things. That's the problem with your kind. If you all became like America, then the world would be a better place. You all just need to be killed. People like you all just need to be killed. Wow. Ouch. Something inside me hurt somewhere. Some kind of sharp pain. This was news to me. I thought we had been friends. Just co-workers, but friends. Friendly to each other. I even thought in my silly, stupid 16-year-old mind that he was kind of cute. and thought that someday maybe we would go on a date. That must have been some class. Sounds pretty educational. It was amazing how after one lecture, a 1 hour class, he had formed such strong opinions and was such an expert on a country he had never actually been to. And of course, being the 16-year-old that I was, I responded by saying, "Don't say that, you jerk. Don't talk about my country like that. I'm from India. You don't even know what you're talking about." "Yeah? Well, you're nothing but a fucking rat yourself. Go to hell. People like you don't deserve to live," he said. "Don't say that, you asshole. You're nothing but a fucking ignorant asshole who doesn't know anything. Don't talk about my country like that, you fucking jerk." That's what I said, and yeah, that was the best I could do at 16, and on such short notice. I had had plenty of people say weird things to me and make fun of me and my family, but nothing like this, nothing this bad. I had never had anything quite this brutal or vicious happen to me. What was I supposed to say to him? What was he even talking about? Oppression of women? What's that? What does oppression even mean? I had just learned about the caste system in India in my social studies class in high school not too long ago. I had no idea it even existed. Even though I had grown up surrounded by Indians in an Indian school and had gone to India many times, the caste system was something I didn't know about. No one had ever told me about it. My family had always told me to treat everyone equally, that it was what was inside a person that mattered, that somebody could be beautiful on the outside but ugly on the inside, that being beautiful on the inside is what mattered. But I really had no idea what he was saying. What was he saying? He was looking at my country and my culture through his Western perspective and opinions, and judging a country he didn't actually know anything about after just a 1 hour long class in his college. And I was 16. I had no idea what to say to him. I had no idea how to respond. I was so angry, I was confused, I was embarrassed, and I couldn't think or say anything except to call him an asshole, which he truly was, even if he was kind of cute. In the end, he was an asshole. He was prejudiced, and he had a biased opinion that he had come to in only 1 hour. By now, a few of my other coworkers had come into the break room to relax before the workday, or to buy some candy or soda pop out of the vending machines. But when they saw what was happening between me and this educated, intelligent young man who was attending college, who was older than I was, most of them immediately turned around and left the room. Only one person said something, and he said it to this guy who was yelling at me. Well, I'll be working outside in the restaurant area, so come get me when you're ready." And he said that to the guy who was screaming at me, and left the room. The only person who came into the room and stayed was my friend from high school, Mandy, the one who had talked me into getting this job with her. She sat down on one of the sticky chairs at the sticky table, put her feet up on another sticky chair, and lit up a cigarette. She was only 16, but she smoked, like a lot of American kids do. By this point, the college boy, and I were done yelling at each other and were just glaring at one another, neither one of us backing down. Mandy kept smoking in her relaxed way. "You better take that back, you asshole," I said again. "You better apologize," I said angrily to him. He was staring at me with an ugly look on his face, too. He glared at me. After a few moments of hostile staring and silence, he turned around and walked away. I stood there shaking. Then I immediately turned to Mandy and said, "Did you hear what he said to me? What a jerk! I can't believe he said all that." "Yeah, dude," she said. Now I was pissed at Mandy. She was supposed to be my friend. Why hadn't she backed me up? Why didn't she stand up for me? "How come you didn't help? Why didn't you support me or back me up?" I asked her. She took another hit of her cigarette, leaned back in her chair, tilted her head backwards so that she was staring at the gray ceiling, so that her blonde curly hair grazed the bottom of her chair seat, and she blowed out the smoke casually. She said, sounding totally unconcerned, "Well, it's not really my problem. It was between you two, not me. It's your problem." "Yeah, but you're my friend. You're supposed to help me and support me and back me up if I'm in trouble. You're supposed to help me." She blew smoke out towards the ceiling again. Her head still leaned back. "Well, dude, like I said, not my problem. If you're bothered by it, you can go talk to him. It's not my issue." Now I was upset even more. She was right. It wasn't her problem, and it was wrong of me to ask her to support me and back me up in situations like this. There was no reason for me to ask her to get involved in something like this, in a situation this bad. "I have to go to the bathroom," I mumbled. I hurried into the women's restroom, where I proceeded to lock myself into one of the small stalls and wipe tears away. Again. It was amazing how many times I ended up in bathrooms wiping salty tears away. She was right. It wasn't right of me to ask her to put herself in that position. But I couldn't stop thinking that if Mandy had been the one that needed my help, or if she had been in trouble, I would have helped her instantly to the best of my ability. I wouldn't have hesitated. I would have at least stood by her. And I would have absolutely helped her if she had needed it. I thought that's how friends were supposed to act. But I guess it was selfish for me to ask my friend to support me. I stayed in the bathroom for about 10 minutes trying to collect myself. And then I did not want to come out. I didn't want to face any of my coworkers who had witnessed everything. I was humiliated by my actions and my words, that I had yelled at a coworker. I didn't like what he had said, but I should not have lost control, and I should not have yelled, and I should not have treated him the way I did. But, I couldn't stay in the bathroom all night, just hogging one of the 2 stalls available. So eventually, when I had taken several deep breaths, I talked to myself and I consoled myself, and I finally had myself under control. I cleaned up my face so you couldn't see any visible tear marks. There were no tear stains on my face. There was no evidence that I had cried. And then I came out and I went to work washing the dirty dishes. And for the entire night, I pretty much stared at the ground. I was so ashamed at my behavior. I was pretty much unable to make eye contact with anybody that night. I was so embarrassed. And I didn't really speak to anybody. And nobody spoke to me. Everybody ignored me that night. That guy who yelled at me was a busser and a waiter. So everybody who was a busser and a waiter that day basically didn't talk to me that whole night. They acted like I didn't exist. Nobody asked me if I was okay. Nobody defended me. Nobody asked me if I was doing okay. So that kind of stuff, that happened. So, and I felt horrible not only because I got yelled at, but I felt horrible because of the way I behaved and how I yelled at him. I felt really bad for yelling at him and calling him names. And I didn't like what he had said, but, we handled it immaturely. And I actually wanted to talk to him and apologize for my rude behavior. But he never talked to me, and he never apologized for what he said. And I tried to talk to him, but he didn't want to talk to me at all. So I wrote that chapter, and I had some of my classmates read it, to give me a critique on it. And I think at least 2 different people thought I made that up. I mean, I actually had, and of course she was white, right? A white American female. She thought I made this up. And then somebody else thought I exaggerated it. So I'll tell you right now, this was not made up. This actually happened to me. I was 16 years old, It was in the mid 1990s, and it really was like my first real job. And I mean, this one lady, like, again, white, American female, she thought I made this up. It's not made up. And then somebody else thought that I exaggerated this. I did not exaggerate this. This actually happened. Like, he actually said that Indians are brown fucking rats and that we need to be exterminated. That this actually happened. And now it is from the 1990s, so it's several years old. I mean, almost 30 years old, right? So my memory might not be 100% accurate, but this is what I remember. This is what I remember actually happening, and I did not exaggerate this. When my husband read this chapter for the first time, when he was done, he looked at me and he had this look of shock on his face. And he said, "Did this actually happen?" Like, he thought I was kidding. Like, yeah, this actually happened. Okay, this is a true story. This actually happened. This guy who, I mean, and I had a crush on him. And he was probably about 6 or 7 years older than me. I was in high school, he was in college. This happened. And nobody cared. And nobody did anything. And nobody sided with me. Nobody asked me if I was okay. Nobody offered assistance. But they sided with him because they were his friends. And he was a waiter and a busser, and so all of the waiters and bussers, they sided with him. And then everybody decided that I was a bitch. Everyone decided that I was a problem and I was a bitch because I essentially stood up for myself. So it's not the only time that something like this has happened to me. I've had occasions like this happening, and in the vast majority of cases, it's usually a white American. Usually a white American. So yeah, so ignorance and racism is very, very, very real in America. So that was back in the 1990s, and it is now 2022. But this kind of stuff still happens. I still experience it, and I mean, other people do also. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time. Feel free to comment and have a great day. Stay safe out there, and I hope to see you again.